me a card for a parking problem.
23.
In this episode, we will take a look at more strange anomalies that continue to appear embedded in propaganda fed to our subconscious and spirit by the media. On October 3rd, 2020, 31-year-old Jonathan Price was shot and killed by police at the Exxon gas station and CHEK convenience store on Santa Fe Street in Wolfe City, Texas.
A small-town police officer is charged with murder in the killing of a black man. Jonathan Price was shot dead, reportedly while trying to break up a fight Saturday night. His family's attorney says he was unarmed at the time.
Wolfe City Police Officer Shaun Lucas was booked Monday night, charged with murder, and his bond set at $1 million. The Texas Rangers say Lucas was responding to a disturbance call outside a gas station on Saturday. That's when Officer Lucas encountered Price, who the Texas Rangers say resisted arrest in a non-threatening posture and walked away. Officer Lucas, according to the Rangers, then tased Price before shooting and killing him.
The police report states that at approximately 8:24 p.m., Wolfe City Police Officer Shaun Lucas responded to a disturbance call. The time, 8:24, connects back to Kobe Bryant, since Kobe wore the numbers 8 and 24. The numbers 8 and 24 also represent Obama, since he was born in August, the 8th month, and he is number 44, or 2 4s. The date, October 3rd, or 10-3, gives us the number 13 for rebellion and revolution. Price was 31 years old, which, when reversed, gives us the number 13 as well. According to reports, police fired tasers at him, and when his body convulsed from the electrical current, they perceived a threat and shot him to death. It should be noted that getting tased is also called riding the lightning, because a 50,000 volt blast from the taser induces complete neuromuscular incapacitation. Therefore, this connects to Obama as well, since Barack means lightning. Keep this connection to riding the lightning in mind, as we will come back to it later. The gas station was an Exxon, and embedded inside the Exxon logo is the Cross of Lorraine, or Double Cross. The Cross of Lorraine was carried by the Knights Templar during the Crusades. The Knights Templars operated under the approval of the Roman Catholic Church for nearly 200 years. However, on Friday the 13th, 1307, all of the Knights Templars were rounded up and imprisoned. They were charged with Satanism and a number of other heresies. Several of the Templars were tortured and executed. This is another reason why the number 13 was prevalent in this orchestrated ritual event, because of the Knights Templar and their connection to the number 13. The double cross was also known as the Jerusalem cross, because in the 11th century, Godfrey de Bouillon, a Lorraine nobleman, made a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, where he eventually became king of Jerusalem. The definition of a double cross is to deceive or betray a person with whom one is supposedly cooperating with. Since the Cross of Lorraine, or double cross, was associated with the king of Jerusalem, this points to the Antichrist, who will set up the tents of his palace in the holy mountain of Israel, as Daniel 11:45 declares, and then he shall double cross those who entered into the covenant. See Daniel 9:27, 11:30 through 31, and Isaiah 28:18. It appears that Jonathan Price was double-crossed as well, since he posted several statements online where he claimed that he never had any problems with the police, and In fact, that he had never been racially profiled. Therefore, the fact that he was killed by the same police force that he was defending constitutes a double cross. However, I must mention that this is all part of the orchestrated propaganda meant to manipulate the masses. It should also be mentioned that Price connected himself with a black cowboy as well when he said this: "They're to blame for my countryside and my addiction to white women, not complaining one bit." And he ended this statement with a cowboy emoji. This connects back to the dreadhead cowboy who rode his horse on the Dan Ryan Highway, as well as the Compton Cowboys who joined the Black Lives Matter protest on June 7th or 6-7, which, when reversed, gives us the number 76, a symbolic representation of the spirit of rebellion. Further, this connects to Nipsey Hussle's friend, Cowboy, and his alleged killer, who was represented by Christopher Darden, which connects to O.J. Simpson and the slow speed chase in the white Bronco. We know Obama was connected to the white Bronco as well from his speech at Mile High Stadium, which ultimately is symbolic of Revelation 6:2, the rider on the white horse. Interestingly enough, on May 3rd, 2014, the White House tweeted out this picture of Obama sitting on the Iron Throne with a crown in his lap and a bowl on the table in front of him. The picture was titled "The Westeros Wing," a reference to the GOAT or Game of Thrones. The crown and bowl was also a reference to Revelation 6:2. The rider on the white horse, who is given a crown, has a bow and goes forth conquering and to conquer. In the previous video, we spoke about how the crown represents the coronavirus and the bow represents the face masks the world has been forced to wear, as well as the poisonous arrows or lies used to convince everyone to follow the coronavirus mandates. Hold that thought. We'll come back to that in a moment. The shooting of Jonathan Price occurred on Santa Fe Street. Santa Fe means Holy Faith in Spanish, and Santa Fe's full name as it was founded is La Villa Real de la Santa Fe de San Francisco de Asís. Therefore, Santa Fe is named after Francis of Assisi, an Italian Catholic friar, deacon, philosopher, mystic, and preacher. Notice St. Francis is associated with the double cross. According to Catholic tradition, in 1224, he received the stigmata during the apparition of Sephiroth angels in a religious ecstasy. Interestingly enough, the word Sephiroth or seraphim is Strong's H8314, seraph, and it actually means fiery serpent or poisonous serpent. It is called fiery because of the burning effect of poison, which connects back to the coronavirus, since virus means the venom of a serpent. St. Francis of Assisi died during the evening hours of October 3rd, 1226. This is the real reason Jonathan Price was killed during the evening of October 3rd on Santa Fe Street at the Exxon as a ritual to connect his death with St. Francis de Assisi and the Catholic Church. But wait, it gets deeper. If you look at the map of the Exxon where Price was allegedly killed, you will notice that 1 block north is the Excelsior Masonic Lodge. The name Excelsior comes from the Latin ex, which means beyond, and celsus, which means high, elevated, and lofty. Notice, in this picture, Jonathan Pryce was wearing a t-shirt with the words next level on it, which insinuates elevation to a higher level. There's much more to this, and we'll discuss it in a moment. But first, let's dig deeper into the connection with Francis of Assisi in the Catholic Church. When George Mario Bergoglio was elected as Pope on March 13th, he chose Francis as his papal name in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi. Notice his use of the devil horns hand sign. Also note that the date he was elected Pope, March 13th, connects back to Jonathan's age, which was 31 when reversed is 13, and the date that he was killed, October 3rd, which was St. Francis's death, and also connected with the number 13. In this post, Jonathan also used the ear emoji followed by the sneezing emoji and the mouth zipped emoji. He then finishes that sentence by saying, "They will forever be 1 million in my book," and he uses the lock emoji and the book emoji to end the sentence. The ear means to listen and to act on or respond to advice given. The sneezing emoji means to be sick or illness and is a reference to coronavirus. And the mouth zipped means to keep your mouth shut or to keep a secret. Interestingly enough, on September 28th, only 5 days before Jonathan Pryce was killed, it was announced that coronavirus deaths worldwide reached 1 million. It should also be noted that September 28th was Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Why is this important? According to Jewish tradition, God inscribes each person's fate for the coming year into a book, which is the Book of Life, on Rosh Hashanah, and waits until Yom Kippur to seal the verdict. To be sealed in the book means to have your position locked in. This is the reason Jonathan used the lock and book emoji as a corrupt version of the Day of Atonement. Also, it just so happens that the police officer who killed Jonathan Pryce was booked and locked up, and his bond was set for $1 million.
Wolfe City Police Officer Shaun Lucas was booked Monday night, charged with murder, and his bond set at $1 million.
A bond is another word for a seal, promise, or pledge. The Book of Life is rendered as the Tree of Life in translations other than the King James Version, like the RSV, NASB, NIV, NESV. The Tree of Life will come into play later on as we get deeper into this discussion concerning Jonathan Pryce. Also, on Wednesday, October 7th, Derek Chauvin, the former police officer charged with the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, was set free on a $1 million bond.
A former Minneapolis police officer charged over the death of George Floyd has been released on a $1 million bond.
We know that George Floyd's death was connected with coronavirus, masks, and the phrase, "I can't breathe." Apparently, Jonathan's cryptic message is telling the masses that those who listen and acquiesce to the tyrannical mandates and forced vaccinations that will be put into place due to the coronavirus and keep their mouths shut and obey are promised immunity from persecution, a reference to being sealed in their book. On October 3rd, the day Jonathan was killed, and the day St. Francis of Assisi died, Pope St. Francis visited the city of Assisi to sign the third encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, which means brothers all. He then went on to explain the new document on October 4th, which was the feast of St. Francis. The Pope used this opportunity to call for worldwide solidarity in response to the coronavirus.
The Pope visits Assisi to sign the third encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, Brothers All.
It should be noted that the date 10-4 in police code means okay and is a reference to the Pepsi It's More Than Okay commercial and the 666 hand sign. It is also important to remember that on September 23rd, 2015, which was Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, Pope Francis visited President Obama in the White House. Previously, we have identified Obama as the Antichrist, the first beast that rises from the sea, found in Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 through 10, and Pope Francis as being the false prophet, the second beast that rises from the earth, that has two horns as a lamb, but speaks as a dragon, and causes the world to worship the first beast. This is found in Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 through 15. The murder of Jonathan Price occurred in Wolfe City, and Jonathan played high school football for the Wolfe City Wolves. His connection to the Wolf and his death on October 3rd on Santa Fe Street connects him to St. Francis of Assisi and ultimately to Pope Francis, the false prophet. This was done purposefully in order to present Jonathan as a symbolic representation of the false prophet. Don't believe it? I can prove it. In the scriptures, wolves are symbolic of false prophets. Matthew 7:15 declares, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." Also, the police officer, Shaun Lucas, represents Shaun the sheep, and his last name, Lucas, connects him with the Greek Lukos, which means wolf, thereby representing the wolves in sheep's clothing. Interestingly enough, the name Jonathan Price connects the victim in this ritual with the Game of Thrones because of the actor with the same name, Jonathan Price. Here you see actor Jonathan Price in his role as the cult leader High Sparrow on Game of Thrones. Notice the 7-pointed star is situated behind him, which connects him with Aleister Crowley's Liber or Book 77. This also connects to Crowley's Thelema, the Whore of Babylon, and Liber 777 as well. Remember the connection to 777, as we will come back to it later. Did you notice that the actor Jonathan Price looks a lot like Pope Francis? And Price even said that he drew inspiration from Pope Francis to portray the High Sparrow in Game of Thrones. Jonathan Price also played Pope Francis in The Two Popes and has now gained an Oscar nomination because of it. The word Oscar or Oscar connects back to Liber Oz. Now, I want you to turn your attention to the fact that Jonathan Price is wearing a t-shirt with the words "Next Level" on it. In his social media post, he also made reference to waking up and used the hashtags Elevate Movement, Evolve, and adjust your vibe. In saying this, he was making reference to chakra or kundalini, serpent energy. Raising one's vibrational frequency and consciousness is intimately connected to an awakening or evolution, so to speak, and therefore connects back to IPEC GOAT and Obama's evolution from man to God. In the previous video, we spoke about the Antichrist's head wound possibly coming from being struck by lightning. Remember earlier, I told you that Jonathan Price was hit by 50,000 volts of electric current from a taser, which is referred to as riding the lightning. I want you to take a look at this scene from IPEC GOAT with the lightning passing through the brain while the dragon, serpent, or Satan looks on next to it. As we know, this scene is also connected with illumination or elevating one's consciousness. Earlier, we spoke about Aleister Crowley's book, Liber 777. In the book, Liber 777, the Tree of Life is a diagram of the human body, which corresponds to the chakras. It is also a map of the consciousness. There are 3 pillars found in the Tree of Life, and they are listed as such. The left pillar, which is the pillar of severity and destruction. The right pillar, which is the pillar of mercy and creation. And the middle pillar, which is the pillar of mildness and harmony. It should be noted that Jonathan Price was referred to by the media as a pillar of the community. That was done on purpose, along with the mentioning of going to the next level, evolving, elevating, and waking up to ensure that he is connected with the Tree of Life and elevating Kundalini, serpent energy. When you look at the diagram of the Tree of Life, Keter is the crown Sephira, which is synonymous with the crown chakra. Keter is the highest and most encompassing Sephira in the Kabbalah Tree of Life, as a crown is on top of the head and encompasses it, so Keter is on top of all the Sephira and encompasses them all. Malkuth is the 10th and final Sephira in the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. It sits at the bottom of the tree and is synonymous with the root chakra. Malkuth means kingdom, and it is associated with the realm of matter and earth and relates to the physical world. The simplest way to think of this is that the divine or heavenly world is at the top, centered on the Sephira, Keter, and the material world is at the bottom and centered on the Sephira, Malkuth. This is important to understand when we speak about the number 777 in the lightning flash as it relates to the Tree of Life. According to Kabbalistic thinking, the number 777 represents spiritual consciousness in a physical human. The classical derivation of 77 is that the lightning flash of creation travels on its journey from Keter to Malkuth on the Tree of Life, as suggested by Aleister Crowley's comment on chapter 3, verse 74 of the Book of the Law. Both approaches discover an archetype of spirit incarnated into human form. Therefore, the title Liber 777 refers to a lightning flash descending the diagrammatic worlds, the zigzag pattern suggesting 3 diminishing sevens. This is a representation of the lightning from heaven, or Barack Obama. as our Messiah so eloquently revealed to us in Luke 10:18, when he declared, "And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven." Thus, the lightning flash in Liber 777, which goes down the tree of life from Keter, the corona or crown, to Malkut, the material world, represents the serpent energy, the spirit of Satan descending or falling from the heavenly realm to incarnate or dwell inside of an earthly tabernacle. It is interesting to note that Jonathan Price was killed on the third day of Sukkot, or tabernacles, because a tabernacle represents the earthly tent or human body. In fact, we are all spiritual, heavenly beings residing inside a temporary earthly tent or tabernacle. Remember, in the previous video, we spoke about David Bowie's album cover, in which he has a lightning bolt on his face, and as I said to you, the Antichrist's head wound quite possibly will be caused by him being struck by lightning when Satan is cast out of heaven and unto the earth. As it turns out, David Bowie starred in a movie called The Man Who Fell to Earth. Notice the white horse, which is symbolic of Revelation chapter 6 verse 2, the rider on the white horse. Also, the Australian hard rock band AC/DC released an album called Highway to Hell. Highway to Hell was their 6th studio album, and it was released on the 27th of July 1979. 7 2 7s is 777 and represents the lightning coming down the tree of life from Keter to Malkut. The terms AC/DC are both electric currents and is a reference to electricity or lightning. The letters AC are symbolic for Antichrist, and DC means devil's child. In conclusion, it is clear that humans possessed and influenced by the spirit of rebellion, the spirit of Antichrist, continue to carry out orchestrated ritual events in this physical world in service to the evil, demonic, satanic beings from the spiritual realm that they serve. This is being done in an attempt to merge the spiritual with the physical, to bring about the rise of the Antichrist, the false prophet, in their New World Order. If you have not given your life to the Most High by accepting the blood sacrifice of the Paschal Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, which was shed on the cross for the redemption of sins, the time to do so is now. The scriptures declare, "Fear God alone. Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall to the ground without your Father? but the very hairs on your head are all numbered. Fear ye not therefore, ye are of more value than many sparrows. Amen. Shalom.